seasons, and they allow guys who probably shouldn't be starting to start off early in the year, especially for a team that's rebuilding, or they're not that good, they're young, they're not that talented. Just to see, okay, we're not going to throw the guy we want starting out early, because if we do that and it looks bad, we're going to go to the guy that we really don't even want to play. So I think Deshaun Watson, I think he gets that, not because he's not good, but I think he gets that because, one, a young team, not a whole lot of talent, especially offensively. And the first 6, 7 games to 8 games, it won't look really good. So we can then say, oh, the crowd all want Shedeur coming in. We get Shedeur in. We get the fans coming back. We get them, applauding. They're ready for Shedeur. Now we let the real starter start the last 9 or 10 games. Welcome to the Fourth and Fast Break Podcast. I'm your humble, delight, and always blessed host, Joshua McCain. And on today's Monday, August 24th edition of the Fourth and Fast Break Podcast, I wanted to talk about preseason action from this past weekend, these past Thursday games, Friday games, Saturday games, and Sunday game from yesterday. Then the decision that came down today of the Cleveland Browns QB competition, that Deshaun Watson was named the starting quarterback in that competition. And also, we're going to get to the top 10 shooting guards, in my opinion, in the NBA for the upcoming season. And the clip that I showed you earlier was from my preseason camp battle that I was looking forward to. And of course, Cleveland Browns was one of them. And in that clip, you see, I said that I believe Deshaun Watson was going to get the job. And the main reason why I believe he was going to get the job, in my humblest opinion, you see it all the time in the NFL when a quarterback who doesn't get the starting job, he's most likely the fan favorite. He may be even more talented than the guy that they end up giving the job to. And I think in this situation, the $200 plus $1 million price tag that Deshaun Watson has on him, plus, okay, let's just see what he has. Does he have anything left? Because this is, looking at his contract, his guarantees, this is most likely his last season in Cleveland, if he doesn't become miraculously good like he used to be, that level of Deshaun Watson that he had been. So this is most likely his last year, last hurrah. And I think Cleveland's going to give him the first few games to see, is there anything left? Do they have anything left? Can they get off to a good start? I know the first 2 weeks they play Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, the first 2 games. So just kind of see, does this team get off to a good start or not? I think it's week 1 Jacksonville, week 2 Tampa Bay, week 3 the Panthers, and then week 4 they have played they play the Pittsburgh Steelers in a primetime game at home. And I believe, in my opinion, that's probably going to be Deshaun's last game if it's not the Panthers game, because I just don't see Deshaun having it, left in him. 2 Achilles injuries, multiple suspensions, the off the field allegations, everything, and that's been going on with his career over the past 5 seasons. It hadn't been good, the play and the situation. And Shannon Sharp said something that was very I took heed to it, because he had said, when everything that you have comes out publicly and the whole world knows it, everybody knows what you've done or what the allegations are, what's going on in your life, it can break, even the strongest man. Then you have 2 Achilles injuries on top of that. So Deshaun Watson, it just hadn't been going good for him. And and then to put the icing on the cake Saturday, the comments that he made, saying, the fans, cheered when he got hurt, and he thought the booing was disrespectful, and everything that's just leading up to it. It's been a bad ride in Cleveland for Deshaun Watson. And I think it probably, in my opinion, I think it ends off by week 3 or 4. I think Shedeur is the guy they want to play, wants to start. And I really want to say the price tag. If this was Deshaun Watson on a 1 year, he's making $10, $15 million deal, just prove it, incentive laden contract, Shedeur Sanders would most likely have been the starting quarterback, announce the starting quarterback going into week one. But because it's a $200+ million contract, you're on the last year of it, basically, of the guarantees. We got to see what we have out of Deshaun. Do we have anything? Is there anything left in him? So I think that's what Cleveland's looking at. Because, like I said, and speaking of, from the other day's game, Shador plays. He gets the start, but he plays with basically the second string. He gets the start, but he plays with the backup offensive line and receivers. But Shador looked pretty solid in that game. I think with Shador, what I want to see is more heat on the ball, more zip on it. And it was a couple throws in there. It looked like it had some zip on it, some heat on the ball. But then he can lollipop a lot of balls. Even if the guy's wide open, it's almost like, does he have that arm strength to throw it through the tightest of windows in the NFL, or does a player have to have 2 or 3 steps on a guy for him to get it to him? That's what I really wanted to see. But I did see some good footwork things from him. He looked like he was going against a second string defense in the Bills, of which he was, and that's a good sign. I know a lot of people say, well, he's going against a second string guy, he should look good. Well, if you don't believe he's good, then he probably shouldn't look as good as he did. Then the interception that he had, it should have been caught a little bit behind him. So you can put the blame on both of them. Quarterbacks will say I should have put it on him, and the receivers say I should have caught it. So it's a two-way street on that one. But I thought Shador looked pretty solid in his game this past weekend. Now a little bit more around the NFL preseason storylines and some games from this past weekend. From Thursday's game, the Fernando Mendoza thing, he threw a bad pick six, but his processing, if you just watch him, rewatch it off the replays, his processing is really good. He's big in the pocket, and he's really talented. I think he's more talented than I gave him credit for, because going throughout all this past season, watching Indiana, I liked what I saw, but I think what really changed my mind on it was the 2 or 3 throws he made in that late game against Penn State to avoid the upset at Happy Valley. And ever since then, he just looked like a different quarterback. And I think he's some kind of turned on in his brain right then and there. So after that pick six, he came back, looked solid, looked good. Good, like I said, his processing was really good. Even they came back and ran that same play that he threw the pick six on, and this time, because he was looking for the over route, it was not there, and he ended up trying to dump it off to Malik Washington Jr., and he ended up getting picked off. And then he looked off the linebacker again. He threw it over his head the next time. So I think Fernando Mendoza, in my opinion, is a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins is right now. And I believe sometime next week they're most likely going to name a starter in Las Vegas. It'll probably be Kirk Cousins, kind of like that Shador situation. But Fernando Mendoza should be playing, in my opinion, from the jump. Because I think he is that good. Then another game from Thursday, the 49ers played the Chargers. I just want to watch Deshaun dribbling, because he is a stripling, because he's really good. He's a really good receiver out of Ole Miss. His first 2 preseason games, he's looked really solid. I kind of liken him to Juwan Jennings. He's 6'3". He's a big receiver. He's a solid route runner right now, and I think he works on that. He'll get even better. He hands catches a lot. So he is a really good wide receiver prospect for the 49ers, and we know Kyle Shanahan's going to get him open. He's going to scheme him open, one of the best schemers in the pass game there is in the league. I like what I keep seeing from him, and I believe he's going to be a day one guy where he's going to be a big factor in that offense. And then we fast forward to Friday, the Jets and Steelers. I just want to keep seeing Drew Allar. Processing still looks good. Decision-making still looks good. He threw that interception where he tried to throw it to Roman Wilson, but I think everybody who's played football knows the receiver, he starts, drifting up the field, and he doesn't give his quarterback anywhere to basically throw the football, because he's throwing it on the line. And if you stick your foot in the dirt and you just run the straight line, you cut that line and you don't drift out, that's most likely a catch. But then it turns into an interception, and it looks like a bad throw, but it wasn't. Drew Allar, I want to see Drew Allar play more with, I think at least guys who are going to play, going to make the team. The receivers and the line is going to at least make the team. I want to see him play a little bit with them because I think he's looked really solid in his first two games. Probably looked better against the Packers than he did the Jets because of obvious reasons. But I think Drew Allar, he's an intriguing prospect for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I don't know franchise quarterback or not, but he's intriguing prospect. And when you have an intriguing prospect at quarterback and he's not your starter right now, that's a good thing. Like you have something to be like, okay, we can work towards something. So, we don't have to work on it on the fly. We can sit you on the bench and we can work towards getting something in the future. And that's a good spot for the Steelers to be because they have not been in that spot probably in 20 some odd years. So that's a good spot for the Steelers to be in. And I think that fans are excited to try to see if they can get a young guy developed. And Mike McCarthy, like I've always said, he's one of the guys to do it. Then the Green Bay Packers, my Packers against the Broncos. I can go on about this for 40 minutes, but I'm not. Trace Mack, 4 for 4 on field goals again. Made a 58-yarder, would have been good from probably 65, 66. He has a big leg, and big legs doesn't always mean accurate. I'm looking more towards the percentage than I am the length because if we can get length plus percentage, you're good. So Trace Mack is still looking good. I know kicker, probably don't really talk about kickers, but when the Packers standpoint and you missed 2 kicks in the playoff game against the Chicago Bears, even though, your offensive line was blowing it and your defense was blowing it, you make those 2 field goals, the extra point and another 3-pointer from McManus, and the Packers ends up, winning that game and go to Seattle the next week. Bo Nix looked really good starting off. He played 2 series. He looked really good that first series. Ended up getting that touchdown, that wheel route from the running back. I think that was, I don't know if that was a starting running back or not, but got a wheel route out there. It looked good. He was very poised. Didn't look like he had, first game since he tore his leg up. So that was a good sign for the Broncos. And like I said, I think Jalen Waddle's, that's a top 5 addition of this offseason. Jalen Waddle going to the Broncos because now you have Waddle and Courtland Sutton. Sutton being the big possession guy, and then Waddle being the speed guy, plus some of the finesse in the middle of the field. So I think that's a really underrated offseason move that the Broncos made. Then Jordan Love in the offense, first team offense, got to see Christian Watson beat Surtain, best cornerback in the league. Pat Surtain beat him on a slant early. And then he ended up getting the ball stripped out, but he was down by contact. And then Matthew Golden beat him on an over route. Got the ball stripped out, but it was at the play and the whistle was already blown. But the first team offense, Jordan Love looked really sharp. He went 5 for 7. Got a touchdown on the angle route to Marshawn Lloyd. First team offense looked really good. I think both first team offenses for the Packers and the Broncos look really good, and so that's a good sign for both fan bases. Then kind of shift over to other Saturday games. Anthony Richardson and the Colts, the Falcons and Colts. Tua Tagovailoa didn't play. Michael Penix didn't play. It was a Cooper Rush game, so Falcons not really just a big topic here. But Anthony Richardson is the number 2 quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Riley Leonard has not looked really good this preseason. Anthony Richardson is showing Anthony Richardson and I'm not trying to give him too big of an expectation because this guy just got paid, but Anthony Richardson is showing me like Malik Willis signs when Malik Willis was in that do or die preseason before he got traded to the Green Bay Packers before the 2024 season. Like Anthony Richardson is starting to look like that. Like it's looking like he's coming in, becoming an NFL quarterback. He's reading defenses. He's getting the ball out. He's not getting much help. He had a couple throws. The guys just dropped the ball. He's not getting much offensive line help because he's third string. He's playing with the third string the other day. But he got out, and it just looks like a more well-polished quarterback. More things that can continue to get fixed on because coming out of Florida, he was a prospect. He was a raw prospect, and he got thrown into the fire because he was not ready. But he's starting to get a little bit more mature. So I think Anthony Richardson wins that QB2 spot if he wants to stay with the Colts. This might be an audition, kind of like Malik Willis's was for another team. If it is, Anthony Richardson keeps getting better, keeps learning. Then you have something because he has all the tools, the big arm. We all remember the throw he made a couple seasons ago against the Texans that's probably the best deep ball I had ever seen. Um, so Anthony Richardson, he has it all. The speed, the arm, it just now everything that's above the shoulders. Can they get right? And if that can, then yeah, it'll keep being a really good player. He ended up being a good quarterback because he has everything else, and he just gets that. It'll be good for them. Other games that I watched, I do like from the Bengals, Colbie Young. I think he's going to take over that number 3 receiver spot. He got another touchdown against the Bears. I think he's going to end up taking that spot over. And like I said, it's a big receiver, it's a bigger target than Yosibas. So I like what I've seen from him. The Cowboys game, everybody talked about Joe Milton, the bazooka arm that he has. Can he get, is he going to be a trade block candidate, or, Cowboys really want to keep him as the backup too behind him? And he's another guy that's older. He was older than Anthony Richardson, but once again, a raw prospect. If the things above the shoulders got better, and really wasn't just necessarily all above the shoulders because he did make good decisions with the ball. So I wouldn't even say that. It's just, can he put more touch on the ball? Can he put more, accuracy on the ball? Because that's what his biggest problem was at Tennessee. Watching him at Tennessee, it wasn't he was making the wrong decisions. It was, can he get the ball to the guy accurately, whether it's down the field, middle of the field, or short? That was really it. And if he could really dial in that accuracy, Joe Milton is an NFL quarterback. He can, he can be an NFL quarterback because, like I say, he has everything that you want, especially today's game, the arm and the legs. So he has everything you want. Can he get it to you accurately? That's what that's what the main thing you're looking for, and he hasn't had that. So can him and Anthony Richardson, but can Joe Milton really work on that? If he can, that'd be really good. And then in the game yesterday, the Seahawks and the Titans, Cam Ward, he had another fumble. It's a clip that's been going out that he was scrambling out with the, nonchalantly, wasn't really on his high horse to try to get out the pocket, and Seahawks defender, he just knocks the ball out, fumbles it, but it goes out of bounds. Carnell Tate still, I don't think he has a catch yet the first 2 preseason games. So, is it some rookie jitters? It probably is. It's just preseason. Don't want to see this going into 3-4 weeks into the regular season, but right now you can get it past this preseason. We're all probably still learning the playbook, probably still trying to get on time with Cam Ward. But the Titans, I think the Titans defense will be better this season. And the Seahawks, I didn't really get a chance to see much of them because they played all the backups. But the Titans, I think they played their first team defense for 2 series. And their first team offense, they played almost all the half, I believe. So I think the defense may have played all the half, but I don't think Jeff Simmons did. And he looked, oh my goodness, he looked dominant in the time he got to play. So that was all that I saw. Some of the battles that I was talking about, some of the rookies that I wanted to see, and so that was a lot of the things that I got to see this weekend. And we'll get to week 3, which I'm not sure if any stars will play this week. Couple joint practices, and usually when you have a joint practice, the starters usually don't play. So we'll see more as this week goes on. I have more of a preview for next week. Now, my last segment of the day, I will be talking about my top 10 shooting guards going into the 2026-27 NBA season. I start with my honorable mentions: B.J. Excombe from the Philadelphia 76ers, Tyler Hero from the Milwaukee Bucks, and Norman Powell from the newly Chicago Bull. Those 3 just missed out on it. I think VJ, going into next year, he'll probably most likely be on the top 10 here. Norman Powell, he just missed out. His after All-Star game, after All-Star breaks, last 2 seasons have not been really good. And then Tyler Hero, we know the defensive downside of what he is, but he easily could have been top 10 here. I just, put a little bit more when he in today's shooting guards, scoring has always been key thing for shooting guard, the two position. But now it's more of the versatility that you have at that wing spot because they're called wings basically now, shooting guards and three small forwards. So being a wing, having more versatility on the defensive end, that gives me that just puts me more of the who makes in the top 10. So right now at number 10, I have Mikal Bridges, reigning NBA champion, 14 points. He shot 49% from the field, 37% from three. And he has played in 638 consecutive games. That is really good. A versatile defender, and he had a really good NBA Finals performance in the finals. I think it was I want to say game 3 and 4 in New York. We're really game 2 and 3, the two in San Antonio and three in New York, and I think game 1 he had a pretty good game. But Mikal Bridges has played better and bigger in the NBA Finals and even in the conference finals. But Mikal Bridges, he upped his game in the playoffs this year, and that's what I like to see from Mikal because he has been getting a lot of flack about that contract, and a lot of people were saying, well, did they overpay or was it a good pickup? And last year, I think put all that to talk to rest from basically the whole team, Cat, Brunson, Mikal. So Mikal, he's a top 10 shooting guard in my eyes in the NBA. Number 9, Nickeil Alexander-Walker from the Atlanta Hawks, 20 points, 45% from the field, 39% from three in his first season as a newly paid guy and as a more of a starter in Atlanta. And he looked really good while doing it. He proved a lot as a scorer this past season, and he's still a really good defender. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker now we'll be sharing the backcourt with, and I believe Lou Dort will come off the bench most likely. So I think it'd be him, Dyson Daniels in the backcourt. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker got more volume and still was efficient, really efficient, especially from 3-point line, almost 40% from three. And he's a guy that could sky up this list come next season, but he is a really good two-way player. Defense did take a step back per se, but I still think he's a really good defender, especially on the wing. Number 8, Con Knipple. Now, 18.5 points as a rookie, 47% from the field, 42% from three-point line, and he led the league in threes his first year. So no more LaMelo Ball. So the Hornets are expecting definitely more of a workload from him. I expect the volume to go up, and I expect to see more of what I saw high school and Duke-wise, because at Duke, he was a good three-point shooter, high school really good three-point shooter. Don't get me wrong, but he was more of a player per se than a specialist. Like last year, he got it. He could show you some things in the mid-range, get to the cup, but he'll now show more as a player because no more Miles Bridges there, no more LaMelo Ball there. So it's him and Brandon Miller probably get the heaviest workload, especially from the starters perspective. I think Colbie White, I'm not sure if he'll start this year. He probably will, but I think Con gets a bigger load because because he's no more LaMelo Ball there, no more Miles Bridges, and then he's going to his second year. You're coming up 18.5 points. You led the league in threes. I think we're going to see more of the Con we saw at Duke and in high school than we did of last year, and it's going to be a more aggressive guy. So definitely has a chance to vault up this list astronomically next season. Number 7, I have Trey Murphy from the New Orleans Pelicans. A big trade chip basically since the All-Star break. Everybody's been talking about Trey Murphy going to get traded. He's going to get traded. Then he doesn't get traded. Then you get to the offseason. Okay, yeah, he's definitely getting traded. Still hasn't getting traded. There may be time for him to still get traded. I think he's going to end up getting traded by at least this deadline, though, because I don't think the Pelicans are going to be really good. But he's coming off of 21.5 points a game, 47% from the field, 37% from three. He creates his own shots. The more I watch Trey Murphy, the more I understand, oh, yeah, he can play. Like, he really can play. It's just he plays in New Orleans, and he doesn't get a lot of the recognition that I think he rightfully deserves. A long player, I want to say he's 6'7", 6'8". So, he gets his hands in passing lanes on defense. He's not just the greatest get in the chair and, defend you guy, but he's a really good wing, really good shooter. So, and I think if he got in a better position, because even though you think he's on a losing team, he can put up empty stats. I think if he got in a better position, a lot of people will understand what he does even better on offense, because a lot of people think of him as a knockdown shooter, and he can shoot, but he's more than that. You just sit down and watch him, and he can get to the cup. So he's a really good player. He's in a bad situation. At number 6, I have Austin Reeves. He's coming off of 23 points a game. He shot 49% from the field, 36% from three. He only played 51 games this past year. But as a number one option when Luka and Brun was out early in the year, he played really well. I think he averaged almost 30 points during that time frame and 6 assists. So he when he was given the ball late in games at times, he was able to make big plays. I remember the game they played in Detroit, and he got the ball late. LeBron and Luka was both playing, and he got the ball late in the game and ended up getting a clutch bucket in Detroit. So he's a guy that the Lakers, they trust a lot now. No LeBron James. He is the number 2 option for sure this time. Detroit Pistons, they wanted him, but the Lakers ended up signing him to an offer sheet and re-signing him. So he becomes, more of a guy that I'm expecting 26 points ish, because go for 23, you probably can go up at 3 or 4 points. So he's definitely going to be in All-Star talks, in my opinion, this year. I do wish the defense was better. That's why he's 6, and he could be higher, but I wish the defense was better for him. And then the postseason, this past postseason, he shot really poorly. In the 6 games he did come back and play in, but we know he was hurt. So don't like to give him the injury excuse, because they always say if you lace him up, you get on the court, the injury excuse goes out the window. But Austin Reeves is a really good offensive player. And number 5, I have a really consistent player in Desmond Bane. He had 20 points average this past season as a number 3 option, basically 48% from the field, 39% from 3. He's still one of the best shooters in his league, and he found his way in the offense, coming as a 3rd option behind Franz and Paolo this past season. And I expect higher volume out of him, even if Franz and Paolo stay healthy, because I think what's going to end up happening, and I'll talk about this more as I talk about the NBA coming into the new season. I think the Magic end up making a decision, because you have 3 high play players, and Desmond Bane, Franz Wagner, and Paolo Banchero. And I think this is the year they make the decision on which 2 they most likely want to keep, because it's most likely going to become a decision time, in my opinion. And I think this is the year they make a decision. And I think Desmond Bane stays there because of what he brings to you. And a lot of times what Desmond brings to you, he brings a spark. He brings a toughness there. He's going to get in your face. He's going to talk trash, for better or worse for the team, because it could motivate the wrong person on the other team. And Desmond Bane might not be guarding the guy, but Desmond Bane, he's a consistent player. He's just been consistent since he got in the league. And like I said, it was a really good get for Orlando when they got him. And I have him as a top 5 wing in the NBA. Number 4, I have Derek White. His numbers went down last year. He's 16.5 points a game, 39% from the field, 32% from 3. It's bad. He had bad shooting splits, I'm not gonna lie, but it was an All-NBA first team. And this was amid his highest, usage rate this past season. He had bad percentages, so the percentages have to go up. Yes, because the usage rate probably will stay the same, if not might even go up, because Jason Tatum, is he all the way back? Is he going to be all the way back from the Achilles injury? We know Paul George is going to miss time with injuries, most likely, because he's just at that point of his career. So we know he's still going to have a heavy workload, but man, he still found a way to be effective this past season. Even in the offense, cutting off ball, still got hot at times. And then this is definitely his best defensive season. He had 98 blocks from a guard from the wing position. That is incredible. Almost 100 blocks as a guard. That is really, really good. So Derek White, he's just a consistent guy who's going to find a way to make impact on the game. And even when the shooting percentages weren't looking good, I turn on the Celtics game, and Derek White is still making plays, whether it's on defense, whether it's getting guys open, cutting, opening up the offense. So I think Derek White is, say underrated per se still, but he's a guy that I don't think people understand his impact past the box scores, past the points a game. He does so much for the Celtics, so that's why I have him at number 4. And in my top 3, starting at number 3, this was a tough one. These top 3 right here, but I had number 3. I have Devin Booker, 26 points a game this past season, 45% from the field, 33% from 3. He still is the gold standard for the off-ball movement at the 2 guard spot. He's still probably the best off-ball movement guy there is. He's the best at a down screen, curling it, that we've seen since Rip Hamilton. He's a versatile guard. He's used that point at times. So, Colin Gillespie, he's probably taking over that one spot, but he's most likely, Devin Booker is back at his natural 2 position. But Devin Booker, he's a certified bucket getter. I'm hoping in the next couple of years he's in the Detroit Pistons jersey, being back in Michigan where he's from. So I really wish he was on the Pistons, but Devin Booker is still one of the top players in the league. He's still a top 20 player, and have him at number 3 because number 2 people in front of him, they're just really, really good, especially the last couple of seasons. Number 2, I have Donovan Spida Mitchell. He coming up with 27 points a game, 48% from the field, 36% from 3. He was a second-team All-NBA. Spida continues to, lead the Cavs in the top 6 offensive rating. And this season, we have a whole season with a guy who I still think is top 10 in his position in James Harden. Then they just added Peyton Watson there. So the defensive, the heavy load of the defensive responsibility on the wing side, it'll probably now go to Peyton Watson, but it'll no longer just be, okay, on the wing, you can just get past us and just hope Jared Allen and Mobley can stop you. Now you add an actual wing defender next to, Donovan Mitchell, James Harden. It opens up the world. And then Peyton Watson, Donovan Mitchell, like I said, playmaking. The reason why I don't have him at number 1, because even a number 1 guy, there's some type of playmaking. I know Spida, has been tough playmaking and passing, especially in the playoffs, but he is at 6'2", 6'1". He has been one of the best scorers since he stepped foot in the NBA. And the Cavs offense, since he's got there, it's been really good. It's been a well-oiled machine. So I think the Cavs are dangerous this year. I really do. I know people talk about the James Harden thing, and I agree with that, but that should be a well-done machine. And that's, number 2. They have, in my opinion, the second best wing in the NBA at the 2-guard spot. So, and number 1, I think a lot of people have this one right here. It's Anthony Edwards, 28 points a game this past season, 28.8 points a game this past season, 48% from the field, 39% from 3. He played 61 games. He would have been an All-NBA selection, most likely second team, had he played, the 65 games. He's one of the best leaders in the league. No matter what you say about Anthony Edwards, he's one of the best leaders in the league. And if only because you hear the mic'd ups of the conference finals run they had a couple years ago, 3 years ago now, when they beat the Nuggets in the second round. And he told Cat, he said, look, in the press conference, I just need him to stay on the court. That's it. Just stay on the court. We know what you can do. You just stay on the court. And Cat, when he stayed on the court, we was able to see what he was able to do against the Denver Nuggets. And then he told Rudy, Rudy, I don't care if you miss a layup. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you're here to block shots. You're here to lock down Jokic. And, like, to able to galvanize your guys like that, like, hey, I don't care about none of that other stuff. And this is the best player on your team telling you this. Like, when your best player on your team is saying, hey, bro, I don't care. Like, just be out here with us. Don't foul out. I don't care if you miss your shots. You're here to, play defense. You get that. And then him a few years ago, everybody laughed at him, including me, when he said, hey, they may have Kevin Durant, but we got Jaden Daniels. But for then, Jay McDaniels, that, sounded like a laugh. It was a joke, but he was being dead serious. Like, that's the type of leader. I believe he believes in his guys so much. He's won a playoff series the last 3 seasons. And they're now making more win moves now than they did when, Kevin Garnett was there, because they believe in Anthony Edwards that much. And for good reason, because I think I think out of all the leaders in the league, and I don't think Anthony Edwards gets this. I don't think he gets this recognition as a great leader, but he is. Like he's a vocal leader, on and off the court. He's a guy that, Rudy Gobert just flew, the Timberwolves out to France to, all work out. Something that, it's never been done. Rudy's never done before. And I think that comes from, the leadership of Ant and want to get guys, in there. So now LaMelo Ball comes in there. So the load, the workload of having to be the number one guy all the time for the Timberwolves, Ant doesn't have to worry about that as much. But he's the gold standard at that position. And I believe he's the number one two guard in the league. For sure. But like I said, that top three was tough. That top three, they're all really good, and they can all swap in a year. But right now, I definitely think it's Anthony Edwards. And an MVP is coming fairly soon for Anthony Edwards, I believe. And so that's all I have for today. And I will be back Wednesday with the various other sports topics. But if you like the video, like my content, please like, share, and subscribe. It'll definitely help the channel out. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other.